Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm gonna try another round of macrame. Last time I got the kit for children that had some basic things. This time I actually got this huge thing of macrame yarn and some hoops. Now I got this tutorial from YouTube and I'm gonna link it down below. And basically I wanted to start out with this because I love the intricacy and I always wanted to try, making animals with this. And I have to say, the tutorial was quite good to follow. I just had to make like some slight alterations myself, and of course I had to read out some parts because they didn't look right. Like even right in the beginning I had to basically redo one of the entire sides because the knots weren't laying on top of each other as they should. So yeah, it was a bit of a back and forth, but it was easy enough to take apart and redo again. It just, a little bit more of work. Also, I'm sorry that the beginning kind of was missing a little bit for some reason. I forgot to press record. So yeah, basically that happened. So anyways, these actually are way too small of beads. So in the tutorial I basically use way smaller macrame yarn. And yeah, those were the only beads I had. So when I actually first tried to use them, I didn't like how it looked. So you might see that the middle bead, which should be the beak of this one, sits a bit higher in the shot. That's because I moved it up a little bit so the eyes would sit right. They're still a little bit small, but I think now it definitely looks at least more right. Now the main reason why I actually also wanted to do this tutorial is because of the wings, because I thought they looked amazing. And yeah, they're actually pretty simple in hindsight if you actually know how they're done. They're pretty easy to replicate and I'm really happy about that. And yeah, I didn't even have to retry this. I basically got this on the first try. I was really fearing that mine would look uneven and not really look like wings, but no, actually it worked immediately, which makes me really happy because they were the parts I basically was most anxious about to get right. So yeah, but no, besides having to hold a little bit of an even distance between them, which you can achieve by holding them apart, it really wasn't too difficult. And in the end, to see that I spaced them out right and they would not move around, I just taped them down to my table. This actually made it way easier. The tape isn't that strong, but I'm also not pulling very hard, so yeah, this definitely supported it. I guess if you have hooks or something like that and you work not on the table but having the piece hanging, you can hook it on something or such. Or I saw some people use a corkboard and pin them down. I guess that also works and would probably a good idea, but I don't have a corkboard, so, or at least not an unused. I actually have one for my pin collection, but yeah, not for this kind of macrame thing, and I'm not gonna plan on getting one because I'm not planning on making macrame that often. It's just basically a hobby. Basically after replicating the one side to the other side, the belly actually took me a little bit of looking because I never really thought that you could actually knot them together in uneven numbers to make it look kind of even. Now that doesn't seem to make sense, but you know how we always throwing the knots are three of the yarn pieces knotted together, or two from each side over one. And yeah, if you have even numbers, like I have right now, I have 2 left, you can just knot them with a piece from another knot, which it doesn't make too much sense if you've never done this, but if you actually follow the tutorial you may find out what I mean. But yeah, that was an interesting thing to learn because I thought it had to be fitting numbers, and that was kind of my mistake because actually when I did my first macrame with making the heart and stuff, I was not really able to figure out how to make it look even without numbers and stuff. And I guess it makes sense because I was always trying to match the numbers, and then it would not really hold together and look kind of wrong. So yeah, actually this was a good tutorial to like open my eyes. I guess also depending on the person that makes the tutorial and the different animals or patterns you make, it really varies on what you learn. As I said, I really learned the like wing technique. The knots are fairly simple. They're like the same knots that I learned in the beginning also, but like how they're used is like really cool. So yeah, that was interesting to see. The other part that I thought was very fun was actually how the person that made the tutorial basically finishes off the feet and makes them look like feet. They're actually using a stick to make them look like feet and then wrapping it around, and I think that's such a brilliant idea. The one they made, basically they're like keychain size, mine is like way larger, but you know, with a larger stick it definitely worked out really well for me, and I quite like the look. It's very cool. And of course afterwards I wanted to challenge myself and make my own animal. And yeah, I actually knew what I wanted to make beforehand. So I basically also just did a tutorial with like parts that I actually need for my thing. And I was planning on making a phoenix. You know, I was inspired by the hanging threads from the last pieces I made, where like, you know, they hang down, and I thought that would look really good as like fire feather things on a phoenix. So yeah, I didn't follow the tutorial at all. I just tried to make it look right. I had like a basic plan in my head. Of course it was a little bit of a back and forth, but in the end I was super happy on how it looked. Do I have a pattern for this? Not at all, but yeah, I just basically winged it. Now one of the things I thought was quite cool is I actually used the same technique in bases that I learned from the wing making before, to also make like a beak and add some more threads to like basically make it a bit thicker in one place, and that worked out super well. Now of course I had to like experiment with the beak a little bit, but yeah, definitely worked out quite fine. And then I also added another eye. This one is one of the same size pearls as I had last time, but I think in this configuration it definitely looks a bit more fitting. And I didn't actually know how to like secure the bead, but yeah, in the end I just like twisted multiple of the threads together to like join them to make them lay more flat. The beak didn't want to stay quite as much together as I would have loved it to, but yeah. Also I like kind of made the bead fit on like two strands just to join them, so I don't have to have them hanging there. And then basically, yeah, using like the double back and forth thing over multiple threads to join them, and then I just started knotting again for until I had the head even. And for the neck I basically yeah, used the two outer threads to wind them around all of the other threads to make like, you know, the kind of like the same knotting technique people use for the armbands for like hiking and stuff. Yeah, this is basically like kind of the same type of knot. And that meant that the neck was a bit smaller because, you know, I added the extra string for the beak. So yeah, the neck in theory I wanted a bit thinner, so I'm just like scrunching them all together I achieved that, and then in the end for the body I didn't have to add any threads. Now for the wings I actually basically just did the same thing as the other wings from the tutorial, and also to fix the beak, because it was like kind of opening up a little bit, I basically just threaded through like a tiny like one piece of the like macrame yarn and just knotted it together so it would hold. I mean, why not? It holds and you cannot really see it, and yeah, it definitely makes the shape better. And then, as I said, just basically making the wings the same. I'm just adding a couple more threads, so the wings are a bit larger. And yeah, then I'm basically just holding them up and like trying to see which lengths they actually need to have, and I knot them accordingly, basically. Joining the feet actually was like a kind of a try and error, and like I didn't want to have like feet, I wanted to have like a fiery, like feathery, like I don't know, tail thing. So I basically like knotted the sides together, and then I decided yeah, that's not looking good, so I took it apart, and then I tried to like knot both sides evenly. I basically wanted to hang all the threads freely. So actually, even during me making this, I couldn't really like, I didn't really know how I was making it and what I was doing, so trying to replicate it on the other side didn't work, so I had to like make both sides at the same time so it was even, which worked pretty well for me in the end. So yeah, you can see I instead of what the tutorial that I followed did, I didn't like wrap one thread around all threads in the end. I just, you know, wrapped them around two threads to like join them together to make the body and the wings basically one piece. And then I just did some basic knots on the tail to like make the wings be a bit more like even and together. And that also left me with like layers of loose thread that would start at the top of the, or at the bottom of the belly, I guess, and then like underneath the wings, and that meant that it looked like a really full, like unrefined tail bit, I guess, which is kind of the look I was going for. And basically, to finish this off, all I did was I combed it out. I used the normal human hairbrush, I unthreaded the yarn and then combed it out a bit. It took a bit, and I was impatient, so I had a couple of knots that I had to pick out, but in the end it worked out really well and it looked like really floofy. And with that, my phoenix piece was finished, so let's have a look at the final results. I have to say, I'm super happy with everything turned out. Yeah, I wanted to make animals. I was like talked about making animals with macrame, and these look really cool. And I quite enjoyed following the tutorial. As I said, again, link in the description box below. And yeah, besides the owl having like tinier eyes than like it should have, I think it still looks really cute and really cool. And with it being a larger piece, it's definitely a nice statement piece. Also, I finished off the tail of the owl with like tiny knots at the end of each yarn strand, just to make sure that it doesn't unwind, because actually, yeah, contrary to the phoenix, I wanted them to stay together because it looked quite nicely. As for my own design, I'm super happy that I even managed it. Honestly, I basically winged it. I didn't have a plan, I just went in there and made something. I'm sure when you make something way more detailed, you definitely have to have more of a back and forth, experiment more on that, but yeah, this one was fairly simple. I had a basic idea and it worked out really well. So yeah, even like the tail idea with like the swooping tail, I think looks really cool, so definitely super happy. Honestly, I would recommend this. I mean, from what I've seen, there's lots of things out there that you can make with macrame. There's people that even like basically use like thin wire to make macrame shapes out of that and make like jewelry and stuff. And yeah, as I said, the all originally was like a keychain tutorial, which was like a tiny keychain. So things like these you can, I guess, also make as like presents for friends, family and other people. So that's like a great idea, and honestly it's not too difficult. I mean, depending on the yarn, of course, if it like knots up, that make it difficult, but this kind of macrame yarn that you can buy actually is quite good for not getting tangled, but holding the knots from what I learned so far. So yeah, really happy with the results, and I had a lot of fun with it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Is macrame something that would interest you, and if so, what would you make? And as always, I wish you a great day. Hope to see you next time. Bye!